Hello, white people. Did you guys know that it was 116 degrees in Portland, Oregon on Monday? Can you believe that? Let's check out this article here. Rolling blackouts for parts of the Northwest amid heat wave. Oh my gosh. Rolling blackouts during a heat wave, huh? The unprecedented Northwest U.S. heat wave that slammed Seattle and Portland, Oregon, moved inland Tuesday, prompting an electrical utility in Spokane, Washington, to warn that people will face more rolling blackouts amid heavy power demand. The intense weather that gave Seattle and Portland consecutive days of record high temperatures far exceeding 100 degrees. All right, so I don't understand why they have Celsius here. Is this because of globalism? Why are they putting Celsius in? Are they going to change us over? Are they going to force us to change over to the metric system? I really like the measurement tools that we use here. But anyway, it was expected to ease in those cities. All right. But inland, Spokane was likely to surpass Monday's high temperature, a record-tying 105 Fahrenheit. Gosh, that bothers me when they put the Celsius in there. All right, so remember this number here. About 8,282 utility customers in parts of Spokane lost power on Monday, and Avista Utilities warned that there will be more rolling blackouts on Tuesday in the city of about 220,000 people, with the high temperature predicted at 110 degrees, which would be an all-time record. Avista had planned for much higher than normal demand, but hit its limit quicker than anticipated because of the intense heat, said Heather Rosentrotterberg, the company's senior vice president for energy delivery, said Monday night. Okay, let's stop for just a second here. As somebody who's been a responsible adult with a house, my energy costs, because I had ceiling heat, are higher in January than they are in the summertime. And there have been summers where it's been hotter than Hades, and we've had our air conditioning, because we have those box air conditioners, we don't have central air, had those suckers blasting all day, all night, and our energy bill was nothing like it is in January. So for them to say that energy costs have gone up in the summertime because of the intense heat, I'd have to question that. I can't completely say that they're liars because I'd have to look at their data. But it kind of sounds like they're fudging a bit. Temperatures in other eastern Washington and Oregon communities could reach about 115 degrees Fahrenheit or 45.6 degrees Celsius Tuesday, a day after Seattle and Portland shattered all-time heat records. Seattle hit 108 degrees, 18. Let's see, in previous videos, probably more than a year ago, the number 18 was significant, but I can't recall what it means at the moment. By Monday evening, well above Sunday's all-time high of 104 degrees, Portland, Oregon reached 116 degrees Fahrenheit or 46.6 degrees Celsius after hitting records of 108 degrees Fahrenheit on Saturday and 112 on Sunday. Temperatures have been unheard of in a region better known for rain, where June has historically been referred to as January for its cool drizzle. Okay, I am from the Pacific Northwest, and never in my life have we said, or I said, had heard anybody say, January. The Pacific Northwest gets a lot of rain, but in January we get ice, we get snow. We're normal. We get 4 seasons in the Northwest. January, that now they're just making crap up. Seattle's average high temperature in June is around 70 degrees Fahrenheit. That is not true. It is not around. It is the average June temperature, the average high temperature in June is around 70 degrees. Okay, this is completely false. Seattle's high temperature in June is not 70 degrees. In the Pacific Northwest, weather starts to warm up out here in May. We have a lot of rain all year round, and it gradually gets warmer in May, and we have 80-degree temperatures in May. Gosh. And fewer than half of the city's residents have air conditioning, according to U.S. Census data. Okay, that's probably true. Not many people out here have air conditioning, but I think Okay, in my personal experience, the older I've gotten, I have had to have air conditioning because I can't tolerate the heat like I used to be able to when I was young. The heat forced schools and businesses on Monday to close to protect workers and guests, including some places like outdoor pools and ice cream shops where people seek relief from the heat. Alright, so ice cream shops were forced to close, but ice cream shops probably would have air conditioning? I don't know. Oh no, the CV-19 testing sites and mobile stab units were out of service as well. What? You mean the heat is not keeping us safe? You know, all these people at these testing sites and stab units, they're just keeping us safe. Oh, I can't believe they had to shut those down. I'm scared now. The Seattle Parks Department closed one indoor community pool after the air inside became too hot, leaving, check out this name, Stan Lee James, who relocated from Arizona 3 weeks ago, to search for somewhere else to cool off. Stan Lee is a girl, I guess. She doesn't have AC at her condo, she said. Part of the reason I moved out here was not only to be near my daughter, but also to come in the summer to have relief from Arizona heat, James said. And I seem to have brought it with me. Aw, so I'm not real thrilled. That's sad. Okay, check this out. The heat wave was caused by what meteorologists describe as a dome of high pressure over the Northwest and worsened by human-caused... A dome of high pressure. Wonder how that occurs. It's worsened by human-caused climate change. All right, so any person with half a brain knows that a heat wave is not climate change. There are waves of extreme temperatures. It doesn't mean that the world's coming to an end, which is making such extreme weather events more likely and more intense. Let's see, last year there was a massive heat wave in Europe, and it killed a lot of crops. And now I think, oh gosh, I'll have to look. I think they're cooler this year. Zeke Hausvader Berg, a scientist at the climate data nonprofit Berkeley Health. Oh my gosh, I bet you this guy is important. Nonprofit Berkeley Health. It sounds important to me. Said the Pacific Northwest has warmed by about 3 degrees or 1.7 degrees Celsius in the past half century. That's 50 years. All right, if Zeke Hausvader, or it would be Faja, yeah, that's how Austin, what is it? Dr. Evil would call it, Hausfaja. If this is true, then, because I am from the Pacific Northwest, did I mention that? I probably mentioned that about 800 times. The trees have, I would say, there's thousands and thousands of acres of trees that have been ripped down and replaced with cement so that they can bring in more idiots. And the place has been built up like crazy because 50 years ago, America was a rural country and people were spread out. And your biggest cities in the United States 50 years ago was San Francisco, New York, Atlanta, New Orleans, Chicago. I'm talking big cities, real big cities. And, you know, Seattle is a significant city, but it wasn't a real big city. Portland was never a big city. I remember back in the 90s when somebody said to me, did you know that Portland is the largest city between Seattle and San Francisco? And I looked at him and I said, really? Because for a long time, up until, I don't know, probably not even 2000. I remember in 2000 when they started building condos out there. And I'm kicking myself for not buying one because they were cheap back then. But it wasn't big. Nothing was big. America was small. And now we have these massive cities. You know, Portland isn't like, you know, you see on TV, if you've never been to New York, you know, you have the billboards and the businesses and everything's, you know, a cement jungle. Portland, I don't know how many acres of land. It's a lot of suburbs. A lot of people have a Portland address, but It's not like it's just a big cement city. Anyway, I'm rambling too far off topic. That means a heat wave now is about 3 degrees warmer than it would have been before, and that's the difference between 111 degrees and 114 is significant, especially for vulnerable populations, he noted. Yep. I'm waiting to find out how much the wildlife didn't survive, how many people who don't have AC, especially the people who live outside, how they did. I'm sure they didn't. A lot of them didn't survive. Anyway, in a world without climate change, this still would have been a really extreme heat wave. Gosh. House Father said. House Father. I cannot get over that name. House Faja. It's worse than the same event would have been 50 years ago, and notably so. Now, 50 years ago, fewer people had air conditioning. It would have still... Well, there was far fewer people, too. Well, let me see here. 50 years ago. Okay, so 50 years ago, or at least... because I'm only 51, so 50 years ago I was 1 year old, and I was, where was I living? I was living in the Pacific Northwest. But as a kid, I grew up in a brick house, an old brick house, and in the summertime, it would get hot, contrary to popular belief, or according to what this article is saying. And what we would do is we'd close the drapes and the windows and the doors, and the house would cool down it would cool down fast. Within probably a half an hour, the house would be nice and hot. And then it would close everything up and it would cool down because we had a very well insulated house. and then my dad would go and he would open up the windows and the doors and he would say, well, we need a breeze coming through here. I'm like, but Dad, the house was cool just a few minutes ago. No. And so when he wasn't looking, I'd shut everything up. And my house was so cold when I was growing up that in the summertime, it'd be 80, 90 degrees outside, and I'd be laying on the couch watching TV with a comforter on me. Anyway, the blistering heat exposed a region with infrastructure not designed for it, hinting at the greater costs of climate change to come. All right, so older houses are insulated, and these newer houses that they've built are not. They're made of straw. We are not meant for this, Washington Governor Jay Inslee said in an interview on MSNPC. He added that we have to tackle the source of this problem, which is climate change. So their way of tackling things is just to tax the crap out of people. In Portland, light rail and streetcar service was suspended on Monday as power cables melted and electricity demand spiked. And that is not true. Electricity demand did not spike. If it gets to be above 80 degrees, everybody turns on their air conditioning. Heat-related expansion caused road pavement to buckle or pop loose in many areas, including a Seattle highway. All right, I'd have to see that to believe that, but that sounds, well, I don't know. Never lived through heat like that. Workers in tanker trucks hosed down drawbridges with water twice daily to prevent the steel from expanding in the heat and interfering just 2 times in the day, twice daily, interfering with or opening and closing mechanisms. What? Okay, just a sec here. Workers in tanker trucks hosed down drawbridges with water twice daily to prevent the steel from expanding in the heat and interfering with their opening and closing mechanisms. Well, what time of day did they do it? And how long is the water? And if it's 100 and some odd degrees outside, that water is going to evaporate. Democratic U.S. Senator Maria Cantwell said in a statement that the Northwest heat illustrated an urgent need for the upcoming federal infrastructure package to promote clean energy, cut greenhouse gas emissions, and protect people from extreme heat. These people. Washington State was not built for triple-digit temperatures, she said. Here we are at gematrinator.com. Let's look and see what we can find. Heat wave. 85, 31, 131, 41. Nothing exciting there. Let's see what else. Portland, 137. Oh, 116. Ding, da, ding, 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 ding. Portland got up to 116 degrees, and the reverse ordinal is 116. See, this is no accident whatsoever. Let's look at Seattle. Seattle got up to 107 degrees. See, this is weather warfare. Let's look up weather warfare. Weather warfare. 152, 71, 226, and 80. Oh, there we go. 82, 28. Remember, I told you, remember 8,200 people, the rolling blackout, are affected by a rolling blackout. Let's look at rolling blackout. Rolling blackout. 172, 64, 233, 89. I think if I would have been paying attention to the, that's probably why they added the Celsius. I wasn't paying attention to those numbers, but I think they were in the article. Oh, did I already do heat dome? Heat. Oops, can't spell. There we go. Heat dome. 71, 35, 145, and 37. All right, so nothing pops into my head, but I'm sure there's some sort of reference to that article. What was the last thing? Oh, okay. So now, here we go. Now let's go into Speculationville. It is time to pull out your tinfoil hat because I am going to take you down a path that sounds pretty nuts. You ready? Let's look up interdimensional. $181, 82. Oh, there's that 82. Remember, there was 8,200 people that were affected by the rolling blackout. See? Here we go. We're in Weirdsville now. Oh, make sure you don't get that tinfoil hat too tight. It'll give you a headache. I don't know that from personal experience. I'm just guessing here. Let's look up portal. Did I just spell that wrong? Portal. Okay, 82. Huh. So why in the world is portal and interdimensional, why is that matching? And you know that this is weather warfare. And you know that these weather, because there's no way on God's green earth that Portland can get, if it has a gematria of 116, can get up to 116 degrees. There are some impossibilities. Impossible. And then they said a heat dome. Okay, so there was a heat dome created over the Pacific Northwest to create. Now we're speculating. I don't know why they did that. Interdimensional portal. Okay, so what kind of creatures are they trying to bring? Let's see here. Let's look up alien invasion. Remember 18, 81, remember 1-8. That's pretty significant. It has been significant for a while because we're going to have a fake alien invasion. All right, I don't see anything that jumps out at me, though, that indicates an alien invasion. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. So why would there be an interdimensional portal and a heat dome over the Pacific Northwest? And how is it that they can get these temperatures so specific? That blows my mind. Now we are at QHHTofficial.com, and I hope that you're still wearing your tinfoil hat to keep the EMPs, the electromagnetic pulses, from frying your brains. I know this is weird. I know this is something just so far out, but how in the world can the temperature get to 116 degrees in Portland, Oregon, when the gematria, and if you're not familiar with gematria, I should have talked about that a little bit. That's Jewish mysticism. And it originates, from what I understand, from the Tower of Babel. If you're familiar with the Bible story, God destroyed the Tower of Babel, and he made everybody speak different languages, and everybody moved away from each other because they couldn't communicate anymore. And Jewish mysticism, or gematria, is how people they communicated through symbolism. So now let's look at interdimensional portals. I have absolutely no experience with interdimensional portals, so I have to rely on the people who I guess are professionals at it. Who really is, other than the people who are creating these heat domes and doing the gematria for us. But anyway, let's read into this. Okay, so we want to give this person credit, written by Kaya Wittenberg. There are guardians at each of the interdimensional portals around our planet, or dimension in general. They prevent human beings from passing through. You need to be at a specific frequency to be able to travel interdimensionally. Oh, and before I go into this article, I want to make another speculation, or a couple more speculations. One, so we're going to have a fake, I'm pretty sure we're going to have a fake alien invasion, and it's going to either be people dressed up like aliens, or it's going to be interdimensional beings. Because from what I'm seeing, there doesn't seem to be any such thing as outer space. Even though I can go outside at night and I can look up and I can see all these dots in the sky, and it looks like there's outer space out there, I have no way of proving myself that space exists, outer space exists. And then let's see, what was my other one? Oh, shoot, here we go. And my other speculation, and this is one I cannot prove, or I don't know how to prove it anyway, I don't know how to find the information to prove it. What if all of these changes that they're making, by they're changing the amount of radiation that we have in our environment, because the Earth has has magnetism to it, or a magnetic pull. We're always in some sort of a magnetic field. Our bodies have adapted to the magnetic field of the planet. But then you add on electricity, your power lines, that emits a level of radiation and magnetism, and then you have Wi-Fi, or cell phone towers, the internet, whatever, and that has a level of magnetism, the radio waves, the radiation. And if you've paid attention to people over the past, I don't know, I'd say 30 some odd years, you notice people are sick. And really sick. Like everybody has an illness of some sort. Everybody's on medication. They have heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, cardiovascular disease. Well, that's high blood pressure too, But they have asthma. They have some sort of illness. And I speculate illness is not caused by germs or viruses. It's caused by the increased radiation in our environment. And so the newest radiation that's being introduced to our environment is from 5G. And 5G is different than the previous radiation because it has a short range. It's twice as high. And so if you have, so your cell phone and your microwave have a certain level of radiation. I think it's 2.5 megahertz. You can correct me if I'm wrong there. But if you have your cell phone next to a microwave and you turn on the microwave, you will notice that it interferes. Even though it's supposed to be the same radiation, it will interfere a little bit with your phone. 5G has, I don't remember, I think maybe twice as much. It emits twice as much radiation. So if you have a device that is not made for the level of radiation for 5G, you're going to notice that it's going to interfere with your device. So when they say that they're having like these solar flares or whatever, they're probably just installing something to increase the radiation, and then they're just adjusting it so that your current devices, like your cell phones, doesn't interfere with it too much. But I could be wrong. So the speculation here that I'm coming up with is, what if all of this increase in the magnetism, the radiation, the radio waves, what if they're changing our environment to be friendly to these interdimensional beings that are coming into it? They're making, you know how like if you watch Star Trek or something like that, they terraform a planet to make it an M-class planet so that it's friendly to human beings. What if they're terraforming our planet to make it friendly to the extraterrestrials coming through the dimensions? I don't know. There's no way that I can prove that, but that's just something that just popped into my head. And anyway, so let's look and see what this article has to say. Are interdimensional portals something to fear or revere? If you've ever seen strange lights in the sky that seem to just blip in and out as if someone flipped a switch and a light went on and you just know deep in your bones that it's a UFO, that's how the extraterrestrials, ETs, travel. They can jump in between dimensions via portals. We would see if they were moving away from us because the light would slowly diminish as it moves away from the Earth, but it stays within our dimension. The lights that suddenly appear or disappear are ETs traveling interdimensionally. Can anyone access these interdimensional portals? There are guardians at each of the portals around our planet or dimension. In general, they prevent human beings from passing through. You need to be at a specific frequency to be able to travel interdimensionally. I don't even know how this person knows this. If you were to be wandering around and you accidentally walk into a portal, but you are not of the right frequency, you will just disappear. That is why they have guardians. They protect us from harm. Okay. One of the most common questions I get asked on the topic of portals is, how do I get there? How do I access these portals? The answer is simply in all the work you are doing on yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, the work which raises your frequency, but you can appreciate the knowledge that they are there for us when we are ready. Okay, this part I don't believe. We must be patient because our time will come. All of that information and access to higher dimensions is waiting for us to remember. It's for them. They're selfish. They don't give a crap about us. I think they just don't let us through because it's going to kill us. Who knows? Maybe that's why some people disappear and they're never found. They accidentally go through portals and they just die because the conditions aren't suitable for human life. Living authentically to raise your vibration. Oh boy. Okay, this article's gotten weird, hasn't it? Raise your vibration? Why would we want to raise our vibration? We are getting into a stage where we understand high-level concepts about how we should live. No, I don't think so. I think people have devolved. We feel in our hearts how things should be for Earth and humanity to be more united. So, oh boy, we've gotten into Stupidsville here. Well, I'm going to go and try to find a different article. Hold on here. Now we are at NASA.gov, the trusted name in science and space exploration. And here we are at the MMS, Magnetospheric Multiscale Code 461. So this is something, I don't know, fairly new. Let's look. Earth's magnetosphere as a laboratory to study the microphysics of magnetic reconnection. And let's look at this picture right here, or these pictures right here. All 4 spacecraft. Look at some photos of the MMS spacecraft getting stacked and ready for environmental tests. Although they will be disassembled again later, these images are for a preview of what will be the final configuration of the MMS fleet. Let's view the photos. Does this look familiar to anybody? Anybody? Anybody at all? Huh? See if it'll... Oh, here we go. So these are the MMS spacecraft. View all 4 spacecraft in the MMS cleaning room getting prepared for stacking operations. Overall view of the White House clean room at GSFC with all 4 MMS observatories. In the foreground, MMS 2 is being lifted into MMS 1 to create the first mini stack number 1. Does this thing look familiar to anybody? Anybody at all? Huh? MMS2 is being lowered onto MMS1 to create the first mini stack. How many sides does this shape have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It has 8 sides. MMS2 is being lowered. Okay, again, same thing. But see this person, how small that thing is? You would think it would be bigger. But does it remind you of CERN? Let's see what's the next image. And then we're back to the beginning. What does this remind you of? Alright, let's go back and see about MMS. Oops, this is science on there. Oh, let's see. Let's look and see. I mean, am I losing you guys here? Is this too weird, too boring? Unlocking the secrets of the electron diffusion region. So, by looking at this article, what answers do we need to answer? What questions do we need to answer? So, first of all, we cannot answer the one about the interdimensional beings, creating an environment for the interdimensional beings, because we don't know anything about these interdimensional beings. That's just a wild assumption that I'm making. 2, can we find anything that would create a heat dome over an area so we could get specific temperatures? And why do they need these specific temperatures to create this interdimensional portal? Are those good questions? Well, let's check this out. This is, again, trusted name in science. This is from nasa.gov. Unlocking the secrets of the electron diffusion region. Cosmic plasmas are threaded throughout with magnetic field lines of force. The field lines and the plasma are tied to one another and move together with the flow of the plasma. And by the way, you have plasma in your blood. And there's plasma in energy. So let's look at this picture here real quick. Do you see this thing here in the middle that has, it kind of looks like an 8? It looks like a keyhole, like an old-fashioned keyhole. And a lot of things that I've seen, you know, dealing with the travel or portals, it looks like a portal or a symbol for a portal. So you know what, that's just out of my region of understanding, so I'm hoping that if we talk about this, we can come up with some sort of a consensus. Let's see here. If magnetic fields in adjacent regions have opposite or significantly different orientations, the field lines in plasma can be coupled with the individual field lines, disconnecting from each other and then reconnecting with those in the adjacent region. When this happens, the energy stored in the magnetic field is released as kinetic energy and heat. The disconnection and reconnection of the plasma and magnetic field lines takes place in a narrow boundary layer called the diffusion region. The overarching goal of the MMS mission is to measure the plasma and the electric and magnetic fields inside the diffusion regions of Earth's magnetosphere in order to answer the following fundamental open questions. What determines when reconnection starts and how fast it proceeds? What is the structure of the diffusion region? How do the plasmas and magnetic fields disconnect and reconnect in the diffusion regions? What role do the electrons play in facilitating reconnection? What is the role of turbulence in the reconnection process? How does reconnection lead to the acceleration of particles to high energies? I got no idea. Understanding reconnection. The MMS mission exists to measure the speed and variability of an important process known as magnetic reconnection, and to relate them to boundary conditions and internal conditions within the electron diffusion region. Let's look at this picture and see if we can... Is there anything significant about this? Something that some symbolism that you have seen elsewhere? Well, I'm sure there's something, but it doesn't ring a bell with me. Purple and blue, that's the color of portals, by the way. Or at least that's what I've seen. Purple and blue, pink, and purple. Alright, this has gotten weird. I don't know if I can bring this to anything that'll be interesting. The electron diffusion region, EDR, is small and fast moving, so MMS is specifically designed to maximize the time or spatial resolution available during its passages through the EDR. The EDR is three-dimensional and must therefore be studied with a tetrahedral array of 4 identical spacecraft. Magnetic fields serve as a connective tissue in our body that binds plasmas together in cohesive cells sharing the same magnetic field lines. When different parts of a magnetized plasma cell move relative to each other, the magnetic field within it fights back and energy is stored in the stretched and deformed magnetic field. This energy is released when the plasma cell is divided by recognition of the magnetic fields, disconnecting the magnetic linkage between the two regions in relative motion and creating two distinct cells that are no longer linked, allowing the relative motion to proceed. In the reverse of that process, plasma cells that come into contact with each other may, under the right conditions, experience reconnection of their embedded magnetic fields, such as to connect cells together by common magnetic field lines. What kind of cells are they talking about? They're not talking about human cells, but maybe they are, because we have plasma, we have ions, we have all these things in our body. Reconnection is a general term for magnetic field disconnection or connection, either of which may release energy stored in the magnetic fields. The rate of reconnection is measured by the amount of magnetic flux converted from open or closed to open for disconnection, or vice versa for connection. Large variations of the rate are observed or inferred, but without detailed observations of the EDR, it has been impossible to predict this rate or its variation. The MMS will provide the need for observations for the first time. Okay, so this got real boring. Sorry about that. If you're still with me, I'm going to end this video with an amazing story. So I am back in Washington State, Southwest Washington, if you are new to this channel, and I am from the Pacific Northwest, and I used to live in Southwest Washington. I moved out to Ohio because I couldn't stand it out here. I cannot stand the libshits. They are just horrible people. But anyway, let me get to the great story. I am at a grocery store in Southwest Washington, and there's this grocery cart. It's in front of a meat counter, and it's in people's way. These old ladies are trying to look at the meat, and so I grab the cart and I start pushing it to a place that's not going to block the meat counter. And a voice behind me says, "That's my cart." And so I turn around and I start pushing the cart towards this lady who's got her arms full of stuff. I'm a nice person. Here I thought I was going to help somebody out. You know what this creature said to me? She said, "Get your hands off my cart." And so my response to that was, "It's okay, Karen. Everything's going to be okay, Karen. Calm down, Karen. Everything is okay, Karen. Karen, it's okay, Karen." And she keeps saying, "My name is not Karen. I am not Karen. My name is not..." She's just getting so riled up because I keep calling her Karen. And I don't know, I probably called her Karen like 20 times. And then I walk away, and behind me, she's screaming her head off, and she's complaining to the people at the meat counter about me calling her Karen. And the staff just turn around and walk away from her. And they ignored her. She was a stupid mask hole. She's totally being a Karen. Can you believe that? Can you frickin' believe that? Somebody had the audacity to tell me to get my hands off their cart. You'd think I was in New York City or something like that. I am in frickin' Southwest Washington, and obviously that person is not a native there, because nobody out here would dare talk to anybody like that. I just wanted to turn around and come home. I'm like, I will wear 2 masks to take a plane back home because I cannot stand this frickin' place. This place has turned into a hellhole. I don't care if people are stupid enough to send their children to school to make them all transgender. I don't care if they want everything to be multicultural out here. The people out here are so frickin' lost. Let them all burn. Let them all take the wrath of whatever God wants to throw at them. I just don't want to deal with it. I can't stand these people. There's no point in being around people or in a community where people act like that. And I'm so glad that I live in the Midwest now. I love the Midwest. People are so civil to each other. Absolutely civil. It's wonderful. All right, white people, that's the damage for now. Oh, hold on a second here. If you're wondering what this video is that you're watching, this is me on my airplane. And these clouds, what in the world is up with these clouds? Why are they so high? And I just couldn't figure out why they're high up, but it was kind of cool to watch the lightning storm. Another thing I got to see when I was on my airplane trip is, you know, the air, just if you go above the clouds, the what do you call those? The condensation trails, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, are higher than the clouds, and they stay there for a very long time. I didn't even see, well, I mean, we're flying by them, but they didn't. Some of them were dissipating, some of them were not, but they were up higher than we were. All right, people, this is truly the end of the video. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to your thoughts below.